Hey guys, welcome to another movie review. Today I'm talking about the new Shudder film, In a Violent Nature. This is a film that's getting a limited theatrical release, and then it'll be available exclusively on Shudder after its theatrical release. This is a film that is very much in the spirit of the Friday the 13th franchise. I do apologize in advance. I am kind of recording this much later than I usually do for videos, so I apologize if my voice sounds a lot quieter than I normally am. But in this movie, we do follow this character that is very much in the spirit of Jason Voorhees from the Friday the 13th franchise. His name is Johnny, and he is a character similar to Jason, where he kind of gets awakened from a long slumber whenever kind of somebody invades his space or takes something or something like that. So basically, the film really kind of kicks off when these group of teenagers are camping out in the woods, and basically they take this golden necklace piece that's attached to his grave out in the woods. And this kind of causes Johnny to awaken from his long slumber and basically track down the person that took this necklace piece from him. We do find out that this is something that his parents kind of gave to him as a passing gift when he passed away, when we kind of find out what his origin is and stuff like that. So what's kind of unique about this film, though, is we do follow him from a third-person point of view, kind of like you do from like a video game character. So throughout this movie, we do get to see us kind of follow what Johnny's seeing, kind of when he tracks down somebody that might have took this necklace piece from him, and we kind of get to see his journey of finding weapons and finding his mask and finding his outfit and stuff like that. So it's a very unique experience in the sense that we don't follow the teenagers like we did in a Friday the 13th movie. We get to follow Johnny, unlike what we get to do with Jason in Friday the 13th, where we kind of see what the teenagers are seeing. This time we're seeing what the actual killer from the movie is seeing. So we follow Johnny throughout this movie, and he's trying to find this necklace piece. And over the course of this movie, we find out kind of why Johnny is the way he is, why he's after these teenagers specifically, why he thinks they took the necklace piece, how he kind of comes to that conclusion and stuff like that. All this stuff happens over the course of In a Violent Nature. But overall, guys, I really enjoyed this movie quite a bit. As soon as I heard they were making this kind of Friday the 13th-esque kind of movie where we're following the killer instead of the teenagers or camp counselors in the case of those movies go, I was very intrigued by this movie. I was very intrigued by kind of what they were going to do and how they were going to tell the story and just how much screen time was going to be dedicated to us following this character around. Some people might get really irritated by that, but I really liked that about this movie. I liked how we got to follow him from place to place, kind of just how long his walks are, how far like one cabin is to the next one in this woods area goes in this deep woods. Very unique movie, so let's definitely go over some positives and negatives of things I really liked about the movie and some things I think could have been better as well. But from my positives of this movie, it has a very unique approach to it. I really like that this film very much is about Johnny's journey of getting this necklace back. I do like how it's no longer just about the teenagers and the camp counselors. It really is about this character's journey of getting this thing that belonged to him as his passing gift of going into the ground for being buried and getting that back. So I really like how this film, is as violent as it gets at times. It is called In a Violent Nature after all. There really is kind of a story behind that. He wants to have this thing that he was buried with, and he's going on this journey to get it back. And I think it was just a very unique approach of kind of this third-person video game character kind of approach of we're following his journey of getting it back rather than these teenager victims that he's going after. And I do like how this film does kind of borrow all the right Friday the 13th elements. We already know about the woods. We know about the urban legends similar to Jason. We know about kind of the things that they can and can't do, like if he can swim in water, if he can, wants to have a mask to hide his face in. He has, kind of these small childlike qualities. He picks up a toy car and he's fascinated by it, kind of like how Jason probably would be with him being a young boy when he passed away. So I like how it borrows all the right Friday the 13th elements. It doesn't completely downright steal from them. It does have kind of its own legacy that it follows, and I do like that about it. It doesn't just steal from something that is already successful in film. It really does kind of follow its own path, and I just really respect that about this movie. Is it borrows all the right Friday the 13th elements and doesn't necessarily steal from it. It just kind of borrows it and continues the spirit of what that franchise started. And I also kind of like the urban legend stories that go on about Johnny. There's even a character in this movie that kind of is connected to how Johnny ended up the way he did. So I thought that was kind of an interesting approach to this one character that they had in the movie. So I do like how that there's kind of all these different angles and stories, and how when the necklace is taken from his grave, there's no stopping him from, getting that necklace back and going on this killing spree. Like there's nothing that can be stopped. Like he has to have that in his grave with him, otherwise this killing spree will continue to go on. So I do like how the film has this urban legend approach of, as soon as that thing is gone, there's no stopping him. I also like how the film uses dead space, and what I mean by that is, like, let's say there's a scene where Johnny's waiting for somebody to enter back into a house, so he can kind of make sure that they don't have the necklace on them and stuff. What I like is, like, if he sees a mirror and he sees like a necklace by that mirror, obviously not the necklace he's looking for, but a different one, he'll have like a flashback in his head, and we get to see it play in the mirror of how that object reminds him of something from his past when he was a young boy and stuff. So I like how the film plays around with dead space and plays around with us understanding Johnny better as a viewer. So I thought that was a very interesting way of us getting to know Johnny as a character more. And I also think this opens up the door. I was talking to my friend about this after seeing the movie. I like how this film opens up the door of allowing possibilities of more third-person villain stories like this to happen. It's like, what if we have like a Freddy character where we get to follow them in the dream world of what they're doing while we're asleep, or how he gets to handpick a teenager or something, or what if we have like a third-person view of like a Texas Chainsaw movie where we get to follow what that character's doing until like somebody arrives at the farmlands and they kind of do what they do with their chainsaw and stuff like that. I think this film opens up the door of allowing more third-person views of these villainous characters, so it could open up the door of what we could do differently with like Friday the 13th or Nightmare on Elm Street and stuff like that. So I like how I like the possibilities and the opportunities that this film creates, and hopefully other filmmakers in this genre will be able to play around in this sandbox of ideas a little bit more as well. For my negatives of In a Violent Nature, though, it does have a very kind of disappointing finale of scenes. I don't like how this film wraps up. The final shot, I won't say what it is, but the final shot before the credits roll I enjoyed, but some of the scenes leading up to that final moment I really did not enjoy at all. There was just a lot of moments and opportunities that get missed of this young woman that survives all this. She's kind of the final girl of the story, and kind of how she gets to come to conclusions that everything's going to be okay from this whole Johnny scenario and stuff, and this person that finds her in a car and everything. And I just really did not like how the last, I don't know, 10, 15 minutes of this movie, I thought they really could have done something different. I really thought it kind of ruined what they were going for with this movie. So the last couple of scenes in this movie were really not for me. I thought that aspect of the story was a little disappointing. And this film, unfortunately, does fall victim, similar to a lot of Friday the 13th films, of dumb characters making really dumb choices. Did not like that aspect at all. There's just a lot of characters where they could have just ran the opposite way or ran through the forest or something. Some of them are almost kind of just there to get killed, and I didn't like that aspect at all of the movie. So I thought that aspect was disappointing. There's just a lot of characters that you really just wish they were much smarter than they were. Unfortunately, there is a lot of just characters for slaughter in this movie, if that makes any sense. So I thought that aspect of the script was very disappointing. And this part didn't bother me in particular, but I do think this film is going to test the patience of a lot of people. There's just a lot of scenes where we see Johnny walking through the forest, and it doesn't really... some people are really not going to like the whole idea of really following this character from place to place, kind of how he preps for things, how he finds weapons, how he, in particular, chooses certain kind of people to go after as far as who took the necklace and why. I personally did not mind this creative choice in this movie, but I think a lot of people are going to be bothered by the whole idea of truly following Johnny from place to place to get to these destinations. So, like I said, it doesn't bother me in particular, but I could see how this could bother another viewer. And from what I've read on Rotten Tomatoes, it sounds like there was a lot of critics too that felt this way about the movie. And then my last negative of this movie is I thought some of the background details of Johnny could have had some more fine tuning to them. Like, I learned just enough about Johnny, but I feel like, unlike Jason or Freddy or any of them, I feel like those characters I could describe their backstory a little bit more. I could technically describe Johnny's backstory, but at the same time, there's certain aspects of the story as to how Johnny came to how he is that I still think I don't really have clear details on. So I thought that aspect of the story could have used some fine tuning. Maybe with more viewings of this film, I could have a better explanation of what that is. But I thought that aspect of the story felt a little messy. It's clear it's fine if you want to do the spirit of Friday the 13th and clearly follow that formula. But I think, unlike Friday the 13th, I feel like the origins of this character, though we have just enough details about him, I feel like it could have been more fine tuned to get me to a place of comfort of knowing just enough about him to make all this work. But overall, I'm going to give In a Violent Nature an 8.5 out of 10. It's a very enjoyable film if you're a Friday the 13th fan in any way, shape, or form. Though this isn't technically a Friday the 13th movie, I think there's a ton of things about it that are a ton of fun that really open up the door of possibilities for other horror characters and other horror franchises to do something unique and fresh with them. So I just like how unique and different this film was. We really don't get a lot of films like that anymore, so I like how we do get one every once in a while like this one that really is pretty different from everything else. So I do like that aspect of the film as well. So 8.5 out of 10 for me. Really enjoyed this film. Hope we get more films like this, of this like third person following a character around and kind of seeing what their journey is and stuff like that. So really enjoyed that aspect of the story, and I think if you enjoyed that idea and if you like Friday the 13th films, I think you're going to have a ton of fun with this film. So it's 8.5 out of 10 for me. I highly recommend seeing In a Violent Nature.